Well,
The first one, yeah.
having trouble with this.
Yes.
Yeah, we need like steps that we can follow or something.
Yeah.
Okay, we want steps that we can follow. All right, so let's do this. Let's do this. Now, sometimes when you do these, the answers come out very nice. And you can use your unit circle. Sometimes you have to use your calculator because it doesn't end on a nice angle. Usually, if you use sine and cosine inverses, usually your values tend to come out nice. They hit the unit circle at nice spots. If you get tangent involved, a lot of times it doesn't work so nicely. And because tangent values don't line up exactly the same as sine and cosine values. Yeah?
So for the sine inverse, we would have to use our calculator for like, we get the tangent of 30, and then we plug that into sine inverse, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again one more time.
We get tangent of 30 is,
1 over root 3.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then we would have to plug that into our calculators.
That one would be, this would be an example of where you need to use a calculator. And again, this often happens when you have tangent. They don't always match up nicely or perfectly. Because the tangent values are sine divided by cosine, so it skews your values a little bit. If these were all just sine inverse and cosine, they would almost always, if I gave you a normal, one of our regular angles, they'd always come up some other normal angle. For this one, for tangent of 30, what is tangent of 30 degrees?
1 over root 3.
It's 1 over root 3, so we have sine inverse of 1 over the square root of 3. Now, unfortunately, this does not correspond to anything really nice on our unit circle, so this is a place where you're going to have to use your calculator. So you pull out your calculator, you put in 1 divided by root 3. So my calculator, if I have sine inverse of 1 divided by the square root of 3.
Should our calculator be reversed or what?
For our purposes here, it doesn't really matter. Normally, the rule of thumb is if the problem is given to you in degrees, you got to go ahead and answer in degrees. If it's given to you in radians, you answer in radians. If it doesn't say, you have your choice. So for this, yeah, I'm in radian mode right now, so I'm going to change my mode to degrees since the original problem is in degrees. So I get sine inverse of 1 divided by square root of 3. It says 35.26. Now this one down here, because it's both sine and cosine, you're probably going to get a nice reference angle or a nice angle on one of our standard angles on the circle. So what is cosine of 45 degrees?
Root 2 over 2.
Root 2 over 2. So we're asking what is sine inverse of the square root of 2 over 2? So that's the same way as asking what angle for sine gives us a square root of 2 over 2? It's 45 degrees. It ends up being the same thing. Now that makes a lot of sense if you look at it, because on the unit circle, at 45 degrees, the two values are exactly the same. They're the square root of 2 over 2 and the square root of 2 over 2. Well, you're not going to be able to see that. I wish I didn't have my break in my board right here. How about this one? Now, even though this is a tangent inverse, I made sure that this gives you a nice reference angle. But they don't always end up that way. So you can't get spooked just because you don't get a nice angle like 30 or 45 or 60 degrees. What is tangent inverse of 1 over the square root of 3 going to give you? It's going to be a 30-degree angle. Let me show you a way to remember this, or something that will help you. 1 over the square root of 3, is that number greater than or is it less than 1?
Less than.
It's going to be less than 1. If it were 1 divided by 1, it would be 1. Square root of 3 is greater than 1, so the whole number's got to be less than 1. So here's the question. For my tangent values, what does tangent of 45 degrees equal?
Tangent of 45 degrees.
Tangent of 45 degrees, tangent is sine over cosine.
Oh, so that's 1.
It's 1. Thank you. 2 or 3 of you got that at just the same time. Now here's something that's helpful to remember. if the tangent of 45 degrees is 1, if you are less than 45 degrees, the value of tangent has to be less than 1. Because it's sine divided by cosine. Well, if you look at the unit circle over here, 45 degrees is where sine and cosine are exactly even. As I go down towards 0 degrees here, my x values, this side of my triangle is longer than this side. My x value is bigger than my y value. You can see that for sine of 30 degrees. Sine of 30 degrees is square root of 3 over 2. The x value is bigger. When I get past 45 degrees up here, that flip-flops. My y values, my sine values are bigger than my cosine values. You follow? So tangent of 45 degrees is my break-even point. If you have a value of tangent for tangent inverse, which is less than 1, you have to be somewhere between 0 and 45 degrees. If it's greater than 1, you've got to be somewhere between 45 and 90 degrees. Yes? If you remember that, it makes it easier to go through your basic angles. Because when I look at this, I think, well, I've got a square root of 3 there. You know, I wonder if it's probably like 30 or 60 degrees. Which is it? It's going to be 30 degrees because it's less than 1. Yes? Jocelyn says yes. She's got it. She's happy. So, tangent inverse of 1 over root 3 is going to be 30 degrees. What's cosine of 30 degrees?
Cosine 30 degrees would be root 3 over 2.
Root 3 over 2. That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, yes? So, this isn't hard. I probably shouldn't have put that one first. I probably should have put that one at the bottom after you'd already had 2 that were normal angles, like 60 or 30 degree stuff. Can you do that? Maybe. Well, we like honesty anyways. That's good. That's good. Let's see if we've got